Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So, Chess Olympiad in Chennai is over, Uzbekistan won by the way. And let's go to the 7th round, duel between Armenia and United States of America. On the second board playing Wesley So as white and Hrant Melkumyan as black. Let's see what happened. Wesley So started with e4, c6 and we have Caro-Kann. We don't see that very often. White plays knight to f3, d5, knight to f3 and we have two knights attack in the Caro-Kann. Now, the general idea is white tries to prompt the black to play d4, attacking the knight, while black plays d4, knight goes to e2, double attack on d pawn, even if black defends. Both pawns are very far away from the center and are prone to an attack, so playing d4 here is not exactly advisable. So black goes according to the theory, bishop goes to g4, white plays h3, forcing black to decide what to do with the bishop. Bishop captures on f3, queen recaptures, and now normal developing moves followed. e6, bishop goes to e2, bishop to c5, white castles king side. Now knight goes to d7 since his natural square on c6 is taken. And now white decides to release some pressure in the set, and e-pawn captures on d5. Black can recapture with either c-pawn or an e-pawn. Both moves are playable. Black has decided to capture with the c-pawn. And now rook goes to d1, protecting this d-pawn, preparing d4, driving this bishop away. White plays knight from g goes to f6, and now d4. Well, bishop could go back, let's say, to d6, but then knight to b5, attacking the bishop, enters the game with tempo, so bishop goes back to e7. And now bishop goes to e3, black castles king side, and white continues with bishop to f4. Now, black knight on d7 doesn't have a bright future, so black plays knight goes to b8, preparing knight to c6, attacking this pawn on d4, also maybe preparing bishop to d6, challenging this bishop on f4. White plays knight goes to e2, and now knight to c6, attacking the pawn on d4. White defends with c3. Rook goes to e8. Once this bishop is gone, white black support this e-pawn, preparing striking the center, so white plays rook goes to e1, releasing the pressure here on the e-file, and now black plays g6. Well, you see black plays his pawns on the white square, so that his dark square bishop will be much powerful, and also protecting this h5 square, preparing knight to h5, trying to get rid of this bishop, dark square bishop on f4, so white plays knight goes to g3, preventing this unpleasant knight on the f5 jump, also putting some pressure here on the e-file. And now black plays knight goes to d7. Of course, further reinforcing the pressure here on the e5 square, because once this bishop will be gone, black will definitely try to strike the center with e5. And now white plays a very interesting move, rook goes to e3. Oh, you might think the general idea is rook to e1, connecting the rooks along the e-file. Definitely that's one of the options, but white is prompting black to play e5 because this dark square bishop is now blocked by the rook, and this is what happened in the game. Black played a e5. So black is thinking this bishop is under attack, and if you don't capture my pawn, I will play e4, forking both the queen and bishop. And if white, for example, captures pawn on e5, black simply plays bishop to c5, attacking rook here on e3. And now if rook, let's say, goes back to e2, then knight simply captures, forking both bishop and the queen. Bishop captures doesn't help because another knight recaptures, and queen on f3 is under attack, and we have to abandon the defense of bishop on d3, and black is winning here. So in the game, white decides to remove the bishop, and bishop goes to h6. And now, of course, black could continue with the e4 immediately, but the best option here for black would be to play bishop to f8 first. If, for example, a bishop would capture bishop on f8, then black would be able to play e4, attacking the queen. After white removes the queen, then black would be able to recapture bishop on f8. This bishop would be still under attack. Black would have two very strong central pawns in a close position. Two knights would be better than bishop and a knight, and this position would be better for black. In the game, however, black has decided to waste no time and plays e4 immediately, forking both queen and the bishop. So black is thinking, okay, bishop can capture, I will recapture, queen will recapture for 2 pawns, I will have another piece. But here comes a very spectacular move. Wesley saw played rook captures pawn on e4, sacrificing the whole rook. Now let's see. If the pawn captures rook on e4, then queen simply captures pawn on f7 check. King cannot go to h8 because it's queen to g7 checkmate. So after king captures queen, we have bishop to c4 check. Now all squares are here are taken, so the only square left for a king would be f6, but then white would play knight to e4 check, and now the only free square is f5, so after king to f5 we have g4 check, and now king can only capture knight on e4, but then we have rook to e1, and now the only free square is f3, and after king to f3 we have bishop to d5 or rook to e3 checkmate. So in the game, now black realizes in what kind of trouble he is, and he cannot allow this spectacular queen sacrifice, otherwise it's forced mate in a couple of moves. So black plays knight goes to f8, preparing to jump on e6, blocking this check with the bishop if he should go to c4. And now white plays rook goes to f4, double attack on this pawn on f7. There's no good way of defending it. Actually, there isn't anyone, so the only option is for black is to play f5, and this is what happened, f5, and now you can imagine what happened. Another sacrifice, knight captures on f5. Well, black has no other option but to accept the sacrifice, because if black plays a random move, let's say a6, knight simply captures on e7, and if queen captures, if queen recaptures on e7, then queen to d5 check. If king goes to h8, we have rook to f7, invading the last rank, and if, for example, black defends check with knight to e6, we have rook to e1, working this knight here to the queen. And if, for example, rook should recapture, then you have bishop to g5 here, gaining the exchange. Either way, black is lost. So in the game, black plays g-pawn captures on f5, and now rook recaptures, threatening with rook to f7, later to g7, and so on with mating threat. So black plays queen to d6, attacking this bishop on h6. Well, white is already piece down, so he shouldn't lose more material. So white plays queen goes to g4 check. Of course, king cannot go to h8 because it's queen to g7 with checkmate. And if, for example, black defends check with queen to g6, we have rook to f8, discover check, and attack on the queen. So in the game, black plays knight goes to g6, defending the check, and now another spectacular move. White plays rook to d5, attacking the queen. Well, rook is not protected, but if queen captures on e5, we have simply bishop captures here on g6. Of course, if h-pawn recaptures, we have queen to g6 and mate on g7 in the next move. And if, for example, black plays a random move, then we have simply bishop to h7 check. If king captures, we have queen to g7 checkmate. If king goes to f7, queen to g6 checkmate. And if, for example, black should remove the king to h8, then simply we have bishop captures rook on h8, and this is interference. White threatens with queen to g7 checkmate. Rook cannot help, so after the only move, queen to g8, white simply captures this knight on c6. And even if queen recaptures, white recaptures, pawn recaptures. White has additional 4 pawns, and this is totally winning for white. So the bottom line is, in this position, queen cannot capture rook on d5. Instead, black plays queen goes to f6, threatening with queen to h4 because the queen is supported. So black wants to exchange the most dangerous attacking piece. So white plays g3, protecting this h4 square. And black continues with bishop to f8, trying to trade the bishops. But white doesn't give him a break. Rook to f5 was played, attacking queen on f6. Queen goes back to e7, and now bishop to c4 check. There's no good way of defending the check with pieces, so king goes to h8, and now bishop goes to g5, attacking the queen. Well, let's see what black can do. If, for example, queen goes to d6, we simply have rook to f6, attacking the queen. Queen goes, let's say, back to the last rank. Simply rook sacrifices for this knight on g6, and if black recaptures, if mate in 2, queen to h4 check. If king to g7, queen to h6 checkmate. If, however, bishop to h6, again queen to h6 checkmate. If, for example, after rook to f6, black could go to, let's say, to 7th rank, defending this pawn on h7, simply rook to f7, rook is protected, of course queen can sacrifice itself. Again, if queen goes, let's say, to d6, then rook simply plays, white simply plays rook to h7, checking, has no other option but to capture after queen to h5. Again, if queen to g7, queen to h6, checkmate. If, however, bishop to h6, queen captures, checkmate. Anyway, realizing that all is lost, in this position, Hrant Melkumyan resigned the game. So I hope you like this game, I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now and see you soon.